So, here's a wild thought. What if the very same laws that govern galaxies and stars also govern our health? Today, we're diving into some fascinating source material that makes exactly that argument, connecting the physics of the entire cosmos right down to our personal well-being. Right off the bat, the material we're looking at today opens with this really evocative image. It's designed to make us think, to consider a really deep connection. You guessed it, a connection between the energy that shapes the entire universe and the energy that shapes our own health. Now, that is a bold claim, right? The presentation is basically saying there's a fundamental link between the two. So let's unpack how they try to build that case. Okay, so to make an argument that big, you have to start with the basics. The presentation grounds us in physics that pretty much everyone agrees on. We're starting at the very foundation of how we understand reality itself. And where else would you begin but with the most famous equation in history, E equals mc squared. The source uses this to make a crucial point right up front. Energy and matter are not separate things. They are, quite literally, two sides of the same coin. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because this side explains what that relationship actually means. See, when you zoom way, way down to the quantum level, our solid world gets, well, a lot less solid. The presentation points out that the tiniest bits of everything act as both solid particles and as energy waves. That means all matter is really just a constant dance of vibration inside of these interacting fields. The big takeaway here? The physical world we see isn't fixed. It's all about relationships and constant change. So if everything is basically energy and vibration, how does it all interact? Well, to explain that, the presentation brings in a really key idea, the principle of resonance. So what in the world is resonance? Well, the source breaks it down pretty clearly. It's what happens when you hit an object with a force that just so happens to match its own natural frequency, the speed it likes to vibrate at. And when those frequencies line up, boom, the energy transfer is super efficient and the vibrations just get amplified like crazy. And this is just a perfect way to show it. The presentation uses something we can all understand, one tuning fork making another one start humming without even touching it, and connects that idea directly to how waves behave at the quantum level. It's the exact same principle playing out at totally different scales. Matching frequencies create really powerful interactions. And to really make sure this idea sticks, the source gives us these great everyday examples. Ever pushed a kid on a swing? When you push it just the right moment in the rhythm, they go higher and higher. That's you using resonance. Or an opera singer shattering a glass with their voice? That's them matching the exact resonant frequency of the gloss. It's just a fundamental law of how energy works. All right, so we've got physics, we've got resonance. Now the presentation makes a really important shift. It wants to show us how these ideas aren't just abstract theories you find in a textbook. They are already at the core of modern mainstream medicine. And here it is, the main argument for this whole section. Those principles we were just talking about, energy, frequency, vibration, they're not some fringe idea. They are already the foundation for some of our most advanced, life-saving tools in the hospital. I mean, just think about how we see inside the human body. X-rays? That's high-energy radiation. PET scans use gamma rays. And MRI? What does that stand for? Magnetic resonance imaging. The very principle we just defined is right there in the name. Each of these technologies uses a specific kind of energy to give us a picture of what's going on inside. And it's not just for taking pictures. We use energy to actively treat people. The source points to things like radiation therapy, which uses incredibly targeted high-energy rays to zap cancer cells. Laser therapy uses focused light for super precise surgery. We are already and very successfully using precise frequencies of energy to heal. Okay, so with that foundation of energy and medicine set, the presentation makes what it calls its pivotal leap. We're about to move from the world of external physical energy being applied to the body to the world of our own internal psychological energy. And this slide just gets right to the heart of it. The central idea, according to the source, is that our thoughts and our feelings don't just happen in our heads. They are forms of energy that actively and directly influence our biology. So how is that even possible? Well, the presentation points to the psychosomatic link, which is really well documented. I mean, we all know that stress can mess with our hormones and our immune system. There are very real, very clear pathways, neural signals, biochemicals, that connect what's happening in our mind to the actual physical tissues in our body. The takeaway is that this psychological energy can create real, physical, measurable effects. So, All of that brings us to the final and I think most fascinating section of this presentation. Because building on everything we've just learned, the source now starts to explore different practices that are all designed to tune the body's own resonance to promote healing. The presentation then runs through a whole range of what it calls vibrational therapies. You've got ancient systems like traditional Chinese medicine, right next to more modern ideas like sound healing, and even some that are considered pretty fringe, like radionics. But the common thread that the source pulls out is this core idea of using specific vibrations to influence the body's energy. To give this some historical context, we get a look at Georges Lakhovsky and his multi-wave oscillator from back in the 1920s. His theory was actually pretty simple. Healthy cells vibrate at a certain frequency, and getting sick is just a loss of that vibration. So his machine was designed to bathe the body in a whole bunch of different energy frequencies, hoping the cells would kind of find their natural, healthy rhythm again and get back in tune. Then there's another really interesting example the source explores, the solfeggio frequencies. This is an ancient system of musical tones, and the belief presented here is that each one of these specific frequencies has a unique healing power, often tied to different emotional states or those energy centers in the body that some traditions call chakras. And this is where the theory gets really, really specific. For example, the source material claims that a tone of 396 hertz can help you let go of guilt and fear. It says that 528 hertz, which some people call the love frequency, might even help repair DNA. Or that 639 hertz is linked to better communication and harmony. This is how that abstract theory gets translated by its supporters into very direct, practical applications. So let's just recap. Our little journey through this source material started with rock-solid established physics. It moved through mainstream medicine that we use every day, and it ended up in what some people would definitely call a philosophy of well-being. We've seen how a principle like resonance is used in an MRI scanner, and we've also seen how it's used to make claims about sound healing. Which leaves us with the big central question that the presentation really seems to be asking. Where exactly is the line between established science and emerging belief?